Naples Daily News investigates. Today we kick off a multimedia project highlighting a comprehensive series of reports. At issue in this edition of Behind the Headlines is justice delayed. In Free to Flee, suspected drunk drivers involved in fatal crashes are able to use the system to their advantage, skipping town, even leaving the country before an arrest can be made.
If already an officer knew that he reeked, because he told me he reeked of alcohol, if he told me already he was drunk as a skunk, that he couldn't walk, why couldn't an arrest be made right then and there?
We'll also look at factors that may be driving this phenomenon and preview the in-depth coverage in the Naples Daily News. Plus, with spring training in full swing, our sports team shares inside tips on how to get the most out of your day at the ballpark. And in Perfect Pairing, a recap of the food and wine at one of the season's most tasteful events. I'm Amy Osher. Thanks for joining us. We'll also have a commentary from Alan Bartlett. That's all coming up. Welcome back to Behind the Headlines. Many months and many miles went into our centerpiece story. The investigative team at the Naples Daily News launched a probe looking at how a number of deadly drunk drivers are able to hit the road and escape justice. It required reviewing thousands of pages of documents, inspecting databases, and driving the state tracking down interviews to bring you a series of reports on crashes that wreck lives without holding anyone accountable. Reporter Jacob Carpenter has more in Free to Flee.
Every year on July 11th, Daymarie Melendez and her family visit her 20-year-old daughter, Christine, in a cemetery in southern Miami where she is buried. They mark the anniversary of the 2011 wreck that took the lives of Christine and her 25-year-old friend, killed when their motorcycle slammed into the broadside of a van.
You know when you wake up and you see the sunlight coming into your room and you get this happy joy? That's what she was, like a sunlight, like a ray of sunlight. She could come in, she would light any room. She was so smart, she was eloquent, she was a hard worker. She had a beautiful 8-month baby, amazing mother, amazing daughter.
Florida Highway Patrol troopers say this man, Eusebio Duarte Guido, was driving drunk when he pulled in front of Christine's motorcycle. An off-duty cop was among the first to arrive. He said Duarte Guido looked drunk, but troopers decided not to make an arrest at the scene.
If already an officer knew that he reeked, because he told me he reeked of alcohol, if he told me already he was drunk as a skunk, that he couldn't walk, why couldn't an arrest be made right then and there?
In fact, troopers wouldn't decide to arrest Duarte Guido until 4 months later. By then, he was gone. In Florida, it's a common practice. A visibly intoxicated driver, suspected of causing a fatal crash, ID'd by witnesses as the person at fault, is free to leave. And they aren't arrested for months. And in some cases, once investigators are ready to make an arrest, the suspects can't be found. A Naples Daily News investigation finds today 45 suspects wanted in the deaths of 57 people are walking free, sidestepping any responsibility.
The unfortunate reality is sometimes cases take time to evolve, take time to investigate. You know, we build a case to make an arrest.
Lieutenant Greg Bueno is the spokesman for the Florida Highway Patrol. He says the challenge lies in proving all the elements of DUI manslaughter, showing the driver was drunk, behind the wheel, and caused the fatal crash. It takes time, and if they don't do it right, they may not get another chance, if a defendant demands a speedy trial.
You know, again, it's easy to say those things, but to be able to articulate that to beyond a reasonable doubt in a courtroom setting is a very high burden of proof.
So it's justice delayed in the case of Carlos Lacayo, accused of slamming into 5 people on a Miami highway, killing them all. Troopers let him go for 6 months and couldn't find him later. The sister of one of the victims says she was told Lacayo legally boarded a plane to Nicaragua. It's also justice delayed in the case of Roman Sebastian Saldarriaga, let go after a Collier County crash in 2001 that killed 36-year-old Janelle Hale. Saldarriaga fled to Colombia, where the government denied his extradition. Today, Saldarriaga has a Facebook page, making regular posts.
You know, I can't control the actions of that person. I would hope ethically that that person would answer to those charges, and we're certainly going to do everything that we can do as a police agency to locate that person so that they can, be held accountable.
In most cases, the suspects are located, but it can be a long, painful wait for families. Since 2005, about 150 DUI manslaughter suspects spent at least a year free before they face charges. In the meantime, the suspects are allowed to continue drinking alcohol and in many cases continue driving. They do it all without any court-ordered supervision. For 376 days, Jason Marshall remained a free man after a February 2011 crash in Broward County that killed 23-year-old Derek Arango. Marshall had a history of arrests, 7 arrests for driving on a suspended license, once for DUI. Still, Hollywood police let Marshall go free for months while they investigated and waited on test results. The wait was agonizing for the victim's family.
To take a year to be arrested, that's insanity. Like, that's way too much time when you know that this person caused the accident. When you have a video, when you have, witnesses and everything, a year is way too long. Way too long.
Sometimes during the long wait, DUI manslaughter suspects go on to commit new crimes. The Daily News found 50 suspects who were arrested for new crimes in the time between their fatal crash and eventual DUI manslaughter arrest. The Florida Highway Patrol investigates about 2/3 of the state's fatal crashes. Policies clearly state investigations should be completed in no more than 90 days, but records show troopers routinely miss that deadline. Former trooper Scott Walter spent 25 years investigating fatal crashes in the Orlando area.
It's an impossible goal. Like I said, if you've got 8 or 10 cases holding and you've got those same 30 days or 90 days to complete all those, it's an impossibility. I've had cases that have taken 2 years when I've sent blood off for DNA.
Of the 150 cases that took at least a year to make an arrest, the majority were investigated by FHP. Walter also points to understaffing for the long delays.
One of the problems that they've always had is the amount of manpower, and there's never been enough troopers, and they've been reducing that ever since I left the Highway Patrol.
During a recent 5-year stretch, troopers spent at least a year investigating before deciding to arrest 32 suspects. Bueno says there are enough troopers handling the cases.
The reality of it is, we have sufficient staff, and our investigators are highly trained, and they are motivated to seek justice for the family and to hold these drivers accountable.
Walter retired in 2009. He said he rarely arrested suspects at the scene, afraid that he might not have time to finish the case if the defendant demanded a speedy trial.
That was because as long as I was working traffic homicides, I was never caught up with the Highway Patrol until the day I retired.
The delay in justice carries a toll. The anguish of families who can't understand why suspects are free to flee while their loved ones are gone for good.
Like, how could you take a life and hide and run? I think of him as a drunk because he showed it from his record, as someone that has no morals because he's hiding, as someone that needs to be locked up.
Nice job, Jacob. In your reporting, you say about 1/3 of suspects are arrested in a matter of days. Why the difference in some of these cases?
Thanks, Amy. There are a few things that can lead to an earlier arrest. One major thing they look at is if the defendant is a flight risk. Another is if there's a ton of evidence at the scene. But we also found cases where police knew the suspects were foreign citizens, and we also found cases where the police seemed to have all the probable cause they needed at the scene. So in some ways, it seems to be a pretty arbitrary decision.
To help put this into perspective, here's some more info. The investigation found concerns about suspects invoking their right to a speedy trial were greatly overstated. Looking at more than 1,500 DUI manslaughter cases filed between 2005 and 2014, the Naples Daily News couldn't find a single case dismissed due to speedy trial. One case went to trial within 6 months of the crash, and it resulted in a conviction. The first installment of this series is front and center in today's Naples Daily News. If you'd like to find out more, go online to naplesnews.com for additional features, interviews, and videos. Still ahead on Behind the Headlines, we'll look at how this investigation is playing out across all of our news platforms. That's coming up in the Editor's Corner.
Save 70% now at Behr's 70th anniversary sale. Hurry in for anniversary specials, including 70% off this Bernhardt bed, your choice king or queen. Save up to 70% off select Tommy Bahama upholstery, including this new sectional. This tropical style ART poster bed, just $8.97. Just $6.97 for your choice of universal dining tables. Shop early while supplies last. Behr's 70th anniversary sale.
I'm Jeffrey Heitman, NCH. This is my hospital.
I'm Shona Vella McCunney, and this is my hospital.
I'm Thomas Parent, and this is my hospital.
My name is Kenneth Bookman, NCH. This is my hospital.
NCH, this is my hospital.
Thousands of people in Southwest Florida make the Naples Daily News their daily destination. And when they do, we say, you are here. That's why we've renamed our classified section to NDN Localfieds. In here, you'll find lots of other people buying, selling, and doing business locally. Naples Daily News Localfieds looks better than ever, and inside you'll find all kinds of things. Things you're looking for, or surprised by the thing you thought you'd never find. There is no better place than here. Naples Daily News Localfieds.
You can get it on the couch, you can get it on the floor, you can get it at a bar or even at the store. You can get it on the porch, you can get it on the lawn, you can get it at the table or even on the john. In the rain, at the game, in the park, in the dark, you can even get it on the bus. You can get it in a meeting, get it while you're eating, or even in the back of a pickup truck.
With the Naples Daily News, you can get the news anywhere. Subscribe online today.
Welcome back to Behind the Headlines. A mainstay of modern media is to present news across several platforms. In today's Editor's Corner, we look at the advantages to you, the viewer and reader, and how it widens the scope of experience. We're in the newsroom joined by Executive Editor Manny Garcia, and it's a very busy time for us around here. Can you talk a little bit about the amount of resources that have gone into this DUI series?
Sure. We've dedicated a lot of time to it because it's a real public service. The work of our investigative reporter Jacob Carpenter with his editor Brett Blackledge is really, it's a project that's needed to be told, and it's a very key because what we've found through just dogged records gathering and investigation is that a lot of times cases lag on in being investigated or even leading to the potential of an arrest. Meanwhile, suspects who've been involved in fatalities where the cops know that they've caused a death have fled and are fugitives.
And this really might be new for people in Southwest Florida to see it play out across multiple platforms. Can you talk about how they're going to be able to experience and follow this story?
Sure, because again, we're serving the way our readers and viewers really want to get the information. So it makes sense to do a project. We have the traditional newspaper, which gives it great play, but you have that added advantage now that we have here to be able to tell it in a visual manner through what we do in a TV studio, gathering sound, pictures. So what it does, it's a kind of story that's got this kind of reach that'll impact your heart. So it's not just, it's visually, it's through your ears, mind, so it's a great way of storytelling.
How did we get wind of this story in the first place? Because it really has been brewing for almost a year.
Yeah, Jacob is, again, being a smart reporter. He's been gathering string and he's heard about this case and that case because he covers courts. And he said, you know, I think there may be a pattern here where I've seen fatalities and then people disappearing. So around his beat, Brett worked with Jacob to cut him loose and gather this information. He's truly been working on it about a year.
And lastly, we're kicking it off today on our show and in the newspaper, but it's going to be going on, continuing throughout the week.
Yeah, we're going to start on Sunday, and then we're going to have it again the following Wednesday, and then Sunday, because we know what's going to happen when you write these stories. You'll have automatic follows, because stories normally lead to other stories as people call you in with tips and you have a reaction to it. And we really hope what will come from the series, Amy, is that it'll have a positive impact to improve the lives and help law enforcement as they continue to investigate the cases, which is not easy for them too, but also help families who suffer through these losses and tragedies.
And it's not just DUI crashes that are impacting lives. Hit and runs are increasing across the state. It's another attempt for drivers to evade punishment. In today's Street Beat, we ask people whether they feel safe on the road.
It's a little iffy down there. You just got to be really careful. You have to watch out for yourself, because people move, they change lanes, they don't turn signals, they don't observe rules. They're driving in blind.
Well, I'm not from here. We're visiting from out of town, so I feel safe because I didn't know about any of this.
Well, I'm always a little defensive, but I'm defensive in Kentucky too. Florida's no different. Everybody raises bitches about the snowbirders driving down here, but the natives are just as bad or good.
Well, I think traffic is the most problematic, and there is unfortunately a lot of people that perhaps are beyond their prime in terms of their driving ability, to say the least. And I don't say that in a discriminatory manner. It's just I've seen people that pulled out in front of me more than once, and it's scary. You got to watch what you do carefully, and I do drive a scooter, so I'm triply careful.
And always ready with an opinion, here's Alan Bartlett and his weekly commentary.
Well, it's time to figure out our endorsements for Naples mayor. We have John Sori, Bill Barnett, and Teresa Heitman. Let's see, okay. And we also need to come up with a decision on the mayor for Bonita Springs. There's Peter Simmons, there's Steve McIntosh, and there's Rick Steinmeier. Let's see, what are we gonna do here? Got it. Okay, we're done. That's not how we do our endorsements here at the Naples Daily News. We figure it is very, very important and part of our job here in the community to endorse candidates for election. We take that very seriously here. We look at the candidates' backgrounds. We bring them in for videotaped interviews, which you yourself can look at our website at naplesnews.com. We sit down with each of the candidates for about a half an hour, and in this particular election that's coming up on March 15th, we've gone another step. And on our website, you'll also be able to see 2 forums that we conducted with the mayoral candidates in Bonita Springs and in Naples. Our 7-member editorial board sits down with all of the information that we have gathered, and we go through and we pair up the candidates, we match them up and decide what's best. One of the things that we look at when we decide which candidates we're going to endorse is the balance on the governing board. We want to make sure that the balance reflects the community, the demographics of the community, the occupations, the retirees. We want to make sure that everybody has a voice on the board. And so we take that into consideration along with the qualifications of the candidates. At that point, we'll sit down, we'll decide which candidates, and because we are an important part of this community, we will put our recommendations out there. We're not trying to tell you who to vote for. We're trying to tell you, based on our research, these are the candidates that we think are the best fit for what the issues are and where the community needs to address the future and what needs to be done. In some races, there are a lot of good candidates, and it makes it very, very difficult. In some particular races, you're going to find us trying to make a decision between the lesser of 2 or 3 evils. However, a decision is important. And at that point, we sit down and we decide how to write our editorial and who we are going to endorse. We believe you should vote. We don't take the easy way out and try to duck endorsing in difficult decisions. This week we've begun our endorsements, and they've continued through this weekend in the Naples Daily News, and you can review them on naplesnews.com. Most importantly, March 15th is the election. Early voting is underway. Please vote.
Thanks, Alan. Still to come, we've scouted top tips to help you get the most out of your spring training outing. That story is coming up, so don't go away.
Still think real estate's a gamble? Not at Vineyards. When you look at the homes, amenities, the community itself, and the fact that Vineyards is debt-free, you can't lose. And here's our ace up the sleeve. A full golf lifetime membership, free with every new home purchase. We've stacked the deck in your favor at Vineyards. Come see our 15 new models open daily.
Thousands of people in Southwest Florida make the Naples Daily News their daily destination. And when they do, we say, you are here. That's why we've renamed our classified section to NDN Local-Fides. In here, you'll find lots of other people buying, selling, and doing business locally. Naples Daily News Local-Fides looks better than ever, and inside you'll find all kinds of things. Things you're looking for, or surprised by the thing you thought you'd never find. There is no better place than here. Naples Daily News Local-Fides.
You can get it on the couch, you can get it on the floor, you can get it at a bar or even at the store. You can get it on the porch, you can get it on the lawn, you can get it at the table or even on the john. In the rain, at the game, in the park, in the dark, you can even get it on the bus. You can get it in a meeting, get it while you're eating, or even in the back of a pickup truck.
With the Naples Daily News, you can get the news anywhere. Subscribe online today.
Catching a spring training game is one of the perks of being in Southwest Florida this time of year. Many visitors plan their vacations around it, and a lot of locals will take a day off from work just to get out to the ballpark. With season in full swing, our Naples Daily News sports reporter Scott Butheris shows us how to get the most out of game day.
Hey, thanks, Amy. We're out at JetBlue Park today. It is one of the newer stadiums on the Grapefruit League circuit. It was built in 2012 using almost $80 million. It is the centerpiece of the Fenway South Player Development Complex. Now, the stadium itself holds 10,300 people, making it one of the larger stadiums on the Grapefruit League circuit. Now, when they were putting this together, they had two things in mind. One, they wanted to make it just like the original Fenway in Boston. Also, amenities for fans were big on their list of things to do. So today we're going to walk through some of the things that help make this stadium unique. One of the things that makes Fenway South unique is they try and emulate Fenway in pretty much every way they can. One of the ways they do that is the pre-game fair that they have, where they shut down the street right outside of the park. This is where you're going to find live music from either local or regional bands playing before every game, and this is also where you'll find a lot of the good food, such as Pinchers or the local breweries. Next up, we have the berm out in the outfield. This is a great place if you want to get here a little bit early to come and see batting practice. Not only do you get a good view of the bullpens and see pitchers warming up, it's also a great place to catch a home run during batting practice. Now, there aren't too many places in Florida that you can get 30 feet above sea level, but Fenway South here at JetBlue Park has a unique perspective. They've built a replica 30-foot green wall in the outfield, and you can actually take in a game from up top. It's one of the most unique views for spring training in all of Florida. And of course, what day at the ballpark isn't complete without a fresh ballpark hot dog? And they actually have Fenway Franks imported from Boston, the same kind you get up at the real stadium, complete with peppers and onions. Hey, that concludes our tour of JetBlue Park. Make sure you come out and see a game, enjoy the weather, and have yourself a nice cold beer.
In case you missed it, this past weekend, millions of dollars were raised to benefit charity through an exclusive food and wine event. This time, it was the Southwest Florida Food and Wine Fest that brought in $2.5 million. It was a perfect pairing, fine food and fine wine. Most of the proceeds going to the fundraising effort of Golisano Children's Hospital. The weekend's festivities started with exclusive vintner dinners hosted in private homes, then moved to Miramar Lakes Beach and Golf Club and a lively auction. Among items up for bid, an African safari, a golf outing with PGA player Justin Rose, a guitar from AC/DC bassist Cliff Williams, and finally, plenty of great wine. That's all for this edition of Behind the Headlines, Southwest Florida's only local news magazine. You can rewatch this show by going to naplesnews.com or liking us on Facebook. I'm Amy Osher. See you back here next week.